Hey YouTube, what's going on? This is Rocket, and this is part 2 of my mini video series in my Traceback write-up on HackTheBox. So a little bit of recap here. In the first video, I did some initial enumeration, some initial port scanning on the host to see what services were active. In this case, we found that SSH and HTTP were open. So looking at the web service, we found that an author known as XH4H had backdoored the server with a web shell. So from there, I went to investigate XH4H's web shell GitHub repository and found a list of his web shells. Looking at his web shells, I downloaded them and created a word list from that, ran it through GoBuster to brute force the content, and that is how I found a admin panel. From the admin panel, I logged in with default credentials, and here we are now. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to get a low privilege reverse shell using this backdoor, and then eventually escalating privileges to the sysadmin user. So let's get started. So looking at this web backdoor, we see that it's a PHP application, and whenever I start looking at PHP applications, I like to see, hey, is there any file upload functionality that I can abuse here? And if you want to abuse file upload functionality, because when you go visit that PHP file that you uploaded, it will end up executing your file as code rather than just rendering it back to the user. So for example, on this web server we have smev.php. .php is a web extension, and PHP is also enabled on this server. So instead of rendering back the contents to the user as text, the web server is going to execute this as PHP code. So what I want to do here is I want to upload a reverse shell that will connect back to a netcat listener that I have on my Kali machine. So then I can just go run commands as with the web server's permissions. So let's get to that. So let's go upload a file. We need to upload a file, but I don't have a file to upload yet. So on Kali, what I like to do is I like to search for web shell. Not with too many L's, with 2 L's. And here we have the PHP backdoor. This is actually Pentest Monkey's reverse shell, which I can show you quickly here on GitHub. And you can just go download it here if you don't have Kali. Excellent. So I'm going to copy the PHP reverse shell. I'm going to just call it rocket-rh.php. Maybe make a directory called exploit and move it there. And then I'm going to go edit it, put my IP address and port. So my IP address is 10.10.14.48. And I like to listen on port 2001. So save that. Seg, that's in my eye. And then start up the netcat listener on port 2001. Perfect. Now we can go and search for that file and upload it. Looks like my cookie must have expired, so we'll just log back in as the admin user. And now I'm going to go visit rocket-rsh.php, because I would expect the web shell to be uploaded to the web server's root directory. Just go rocket-rsh.php. It is not found on this server. Oh, my upload must have failed. Oops, I did not want to do that. So it probably didn't upload the file originally because my cookie was expired. So we're going to try uploading the file again. Let's see if it uploaded. We'll visit here, and it looks like we have a reverse shell. So because the web server was running as the web admin user, I basically inherit the web server's permissions, so I am web admin. We can verify this with a psaux grep Apache 2. And we can see, of course it starts as root, but root then forks into child processes, and we ended up exploiting a child process which was running as the web admin user. So great. At this point, I like to upgrade my netcat shell to a pseudo-terminal. And I like to do that because in a pseudo-terminal I can go execute commands like less and vim, which put your terminal into pager mode. And I can also execute sudo, which is a command for basically, it's saying super user do, so you're changing to another user, running commands as a super user. So to do this, I need to check to see if Python is installed. Because this is a Ubuntu server, my guess is that Python 3 is installed. You can verify this by using the command which python 3, and there it is. So you can run python 3, pass the command, and we'll say import pty.spawn bin bash. Then we're going to send it to the background of Control Z and go stty raw-echo. Hit FG enter to bring your pseudo-terminal back to the foreground. And because I'm running tmux, I like to run export term equals screen, and then hit Control L. Oh, not exploit. I want export term equals screen, and then Control L. Clear. So now we also have tab auto completion. I can move my cursor back and forth. I can hit Control C without exiting my web shell, and that's very convenient. So because the sudo command is the easiest way to escalate your privileges usually, and it only takes 2 seconds to run, I like to check for sudo permissions with sudo-l. And in this case, we can run this command here as a sysadmin user without any password. So I'm not quite sure what this is at the moment, but we might be able to find some more context, and a good place to search for files is in the user's home directory. So I want to check the web admin user's home directory and the sysadmin user's home directory. So we can go cd/home, and I'll try going to web admin, and there's a note for us. And this file here might have been left behind by someone else who is on this box at the same time, but let's take a look at the note. So run less note.txt, and the sysadmin says, "Hey, I have left a tool to practice Lua. I'm sure you know where to find it. Contact me if you have any questions." So this also falls into the passive reconnaissance category, because the web admin user said that they left the tool to practice Lua, which is some sort of technology, for the sysadmin. And he's telling the sysadmin, "Hey, I'm sure you know exactly where to find it," which sounds very suspicious. This tool is very likely this Loveit tool in the sysadmin's home directory. So let's see if we can go in the sysadmin's home directory and maybe find more context on what kind of Lua tool he left behind. So there's permission denied there. We try to go in it, we can't do it. But we can still run this command as a sysadmin user, as sudo. So that means we might be able to abuse this tool to become the sysadmin user. So to do that, we can go sudo-u sysadmin, pass the command, and enter. And it says, "Welcome to the Loveit REPL." So in tech terms, the REPL is an interactive shell. It's an interactive command prompt where you can just execute arbitrary commands. But is this really Lua? We can also get more information on this binary and see more about it. So maybe let's press the -h command. Interesting. So it looks like this command does accept arguments. So if we pass the -v, we can get print the version. Let's see if it leaks anything Lua related. I don't see anything Lua related, but I do see something Love It related. But we can still test to see if this is actually a Lua interpreter. And if you don't know, Lua is a programming language. And the best way to test that is to just run the simplest command in that programming language you can possibly think of. So when I think of beginner programming, I think of hello world. So let's try running a Lua hello world. So let's try print hello world, and it prints hello world. So this could very well be Lua. Let's try seeing if we can abuse this to become the sysadmin user, because when we printed hello world, because we run it with the sudo command, we are running this love it command as the sysadmin user. So if we can spawn a shell here, we will become the sysadmin user. So for this, I like to go to GTFObins, and I like to search for Lua. And we get a hit, and we find something that is related to sudo. So running Lua of sudo, it runs in privileged context and may be used to access the file system, escalate, or maintain access with elevated privileges, if enabled on sudo. So if we just start the interpreter and just say, hey, just execute os command, so os execute bin sh, we should get a shell. So let's try that. Let's get out of here, and we'll say sudo use sysadmin. We'll run the love it command, and we'll just pass the flag. Instead of bin sh, I prefer bin bash. And we are now executing commands as a sysadmin user. Excellent. So now we have a shell as a sysadmin user. If we go to the home directory, we should be able to enter sysadmin's directory, and we have a user.txt file. So that is the user own. It is 33 characters. And now, at this point, what I like to do is kind of get a foothold on a user. So this way I can go access the box whenever I want, even if I do lose my shell, and stay in. And also just having a regular SSH shell is a lot better than using a pseudo-terminal, which I am using right now. So you can go into if you list all the contents, we might be able to go into the SSH directory and write append a public key to the authorized keys file. There's an authorized keys file, and we can indeed write to it. So what I'm going to do here is make a directory called privesc, go into it, and generate an SSH key, and we'll call it sysadmin.id rsa. No passphrase. We have our private key public key pair. And I'm just going to append the contents of this newly generated public key to the authorized keys file. So you can just go echo-n to remove any white space from my echo command, append that to the authorized keys file. At this point, I should be able to SSH as a sysadmin user into Traceback by utilizing the corresponding sysadmin user's private key. We'll say sysadmin at traceback.htv, and I'm in. And what's interesting here is whoever owned this server, so XH4H says, I guess stuff could have been configured better. Welcome to XH4H land. whenever I see an SSH banner, to me that's kind of suspicious, but that will become relevant in the next part. So I will see you in part 3.